All right, we're here with David Cobb, co-founder of Move to Ammend on the national leadership team. So for those who are not yet aware, they should be made aware. Tell us what Move to Ammend is.
Well, Move to Ammend is a multiracial, multi-ethnic coalition of groups and individuals from across the country. Over 250,000 people, several thousand endorsing organizations, all coming together to demand a constitutional amendment to abolish the illegitimate court-created idea that corporations have inherent unalienable human rights and that money is speech. Two separate but linchpin legal doctrines that the ruling elite have used to completely steal our sacred right to self-government.
So what's interesting, David, is that if you ask regular people, do you think a corporation is a human being, you'll get a laugh.
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous, right? But at the same time, when you ask the power structure, it's a no-brainer in the opposite direction. They say, well, of course corporations should have the same rights as people. So how do you mobilize people to influence the power structure enough, which we have such trouble reaching, to be able to make a difference and say, no, we should go with the obvious idea that they are not human beings?
Well, Cenk, let's just understand that it's going to take a mass movement in this country to actually make this power structure do anything, right? And I'm talking about a mass movement that takes itself as seriously as the American revolutionaries, the women's suffrage movement, the abolitionist movement, the civil rights movement. We're not fooling around at Move to Ammend. We're nonviolent revolutionaries. We intend to win this constitutional amendment and more. And the only way you do that is to actually take people where they are. Now, it's funny because you mentioned that, of course, it's ridiculous. It's a no-brainer. And so we've actually used a whole host of very creative, clever political stunts to educate on this idea, because it's not a technicality. I mean, you went to law school as well, Cenk. To have a constitutional right means you get to go into court and challenge any law that says it might be infringing upon your inherent unalienable rights. And as a human being, you ought to be able to do that, because our rights are not subject to the political process. The point is this: if concentrated capital can claim inherent and unalienable rights, then corporate lawyers can overturn public health laws, public safety laws, worker protection laws, and campaign finance laws, which they do.
So talk to me about on the grassroots level, because they have all the money, and people fighting back have very little money, to be honest, right? And so that gives them an enormous advantage. How do you get beyond that advantage? How do you organize people to be able to spread the message and effectively fight back?
Well, Cenk, I mean, I'm very proud at Move to Ammend that with a very minuscule budget, we've already organized over 200 local affiliates. We've helped to pass almost 500 resolutions. We've put this issue on the ballot in 28 jurisdictions, including in jurisdictions where Republicans dominate, and we've won every single one of them. We haven't lost a single one yet. And we're doing it on old-fashioned sweat equity. Ordinary people are organizing and educating one another, and the reality is that this is, as you say, a no-brainer. I mean, your viewers know, is a corporation a person with constitutional rights? That's absurd. That's ridiculous. But you know what? This Supreme Court has said that it's so. It's the same institution, the Supreme Court, that once said the indigenous were not human beings. The Supreme Court once said that codifying slavery did not violate the constitutional protections of liberty. The Supreme Court once said that women were not persons. The Supreme Court once said that Jim Crow segregation laws didn't violate separate but equal, which is absurd on its face, just using the English language, right? Point I'm making is this: the court and the power structure has been wrong before. They are profoundly wrong about this, and it's going to take a mass movement of organizing ordinary people. There is no quick fix, Cenk. I mean, one thing that we at Move to Ammend are looking to collaborate with Wolfpack and others to actually build this movement out. Recognize we're on a 10-year trajectory, right? And there's going to be a lot of victories along the way, but we're going to win this constitutional amendment. I suspect it'll take about 10 years, but at the end of the day, we're going to transform the society we live in.
So now a lot of law professors will say, whoa, look, corporations need protections, okay? And if you take away their personhood, then they're going to have trouble being, the effective tool that we have in this society to be able to get together, invest in a certain project, etc. How do you answer that?
Well, first of all, let's just be clear that corporations are effective tools. I believe in the use of the corporation as an effective tool. but it's a tool that should be controlled through the political process, just as our founders once did. As you will remember from your first year corporations class, corporate charters used to be very tightly controlled, limited in time. They could only be used for a certain thing, because the privilege of limited liability is an enormous political privilege. It's not a right, it's a privilege. So I'm not against the broad idea of corporations being persons for being able to sue or be sued, or to be able to enter into contracts. The question is, do they have inherent and alienable constitutional rights? Because that means corporate lawyers can overturn democratically enacted laws. So I think that any law professor who's being honest, we can have a conversation around, let's separate the idea of being able to enter into contracts and being able to exist from whether they have inherent and alienable constitutional rights, because that's the linchpin.
How about Republicans? If in order to get an amendment passed, ultimately you have to get 3/4 of the states to ratify. If you need 3/4 of the states, obviously you're going to need a lot of Republicans to be on your side here. So I think that the conventional wisdom is that Republicans will say, whoa, you're attacking corporations. I'm in favor of corporations. They're business and they create jobs for us. How do you convince that person to come on your side?
Well, by telling the story of the founding of this republic, by talking about the founders' original intent and how the founders once dealt with the corporate form. And I'll tell you, Cenk, with like just straight up, I have given my presentations at Occupy groups. I get laughs, I get applause. I've given my presentation at Tea Party groups, and guess what? I get laughs and I get applause. Now, I'll admit to you, those laughs and applause comes at totally different places. Right?
That's right, yeah.
But sovereignty, limited government, these core concepts are concepts that Move to Amend has integrated into the work that we're doing. It's the reason that we've won in very Republican-dominated jurisdictions where we've put our issue on the ballot.
One final thing. Right now, what is the most important thing that Move to Amend's working on?
I would say Pledge to Amend. We are rolling out a campaign to give people the tools and the tactics that they need to make this a political issue. Your viewers already know what Mitt Romney's position is, right? Corporations are people, my friend.
Right.
And most people know my friend. You know why? Not because corporate media covered that, but because a Move to Amend supporter cornered Mitt Romney at the Iowa State Fair, and using nothing but a device like this that many of your viewers have, asked the question, then hit record, and caught Mitt Romney making a fool of himself, saying corporations are people. Well, that went viral.
Was that a Move to Amend person that asked that question?
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's great. Congratulations.
So this is the thing.
That makes a difference.
It makes a difference, right? And now imagine we were only at 75,000 people, and we were still scrambling when that happened. Now we've got over 250,000 people. We've got 200 local affiliates. Now we're rolling out a whole campaign called Pledge to Amend, where we're going to ask every candidate for office, presidential candidate, congressional candidate, state legislature, county commissioner, dog catcher. Do you believe corporations have constitutional rights? Yes or no? Because our people want to know that. The point is, Cenk, we're going to build a which side are you on moment. We're going to do it within the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, independents alike. We are going to force this political issue and make elected officials and people who want our votes. And that's where the pivot moment is going to come. If we've built a moment where people are actually taking themselves seriously, we're either going to change this Congress or we're going to be ruled by the ruling elite. It's just that simple.
David Cobb from Move to Amend, thank you so much for joining us. There's a real fighter in the country.
Thank you, Cenk.